right, here we go.
All right, well, good evening. I know we have a little bit of a smaller group. We had 41 at last count people register. So, and I do know some more people on the way, but I don't want to, excuse me, hold you guys. So I'm going to go ahead and get started. So for those of you guys who don't know me, my name is Michelle Taylor Willis. I own Daniel Media, which is a registered mark, by the way. I don't know why our little R isn't on there, but my team will hear about that in the morning. I'm like, where's your R? But we're a media company, and what we do basically is we provide affordable quality advertising solutions for small businesses. We do that through a few different mediums. Our main medium is Soul Food Lifestyle Magazine, which you guys see in front of you, which you may have heard of before. If you've been in Atlanta for a while, you've heard of South Fulton Lifestyle Magazine or Soul Food Lifestyle Magazine. I also have a TV show called The According to Michelle TV show, radio show, which is terrestrial on Real 1100 AM. And then iHeartRadio, and then it's a podcast as well. We edit it down for podcast. And then billboards. We do multi-state billboard campaigns. Like, we're the agency on record for Fulton County Sheriff's Office. So you'll see probably within the next 5 to 7 days, I would imagine, you'll see a huge, everywhere you go, you'll probably see, you'll see recruiting for, you might have started seeing them for Fulton County Sheriff's. So my company did that, and we're running that campaign in several states across the nation. We also do TV buys. We can do cable TV buys here in Georgia. We can do those across the states as well. And then we also have a production side of our business. So we produce commercials. We can produce short films, documentaries. We haven't, but we probably could produce feature film. We've got enough cameras and equipment to be able to do it, and I know enough actors and directors and writers at this point where we probably pull it off. So that's the media company. The reason we're here tonight is because the restaurant scientist is actually one of our advertisers, and he is pretty well known around the nation as the restaurant scientist. I think you were asking earlier, is that like what people know you as? And if they don't, they will by the time we're finished with them. Because we are doing kind of a multifaceted branding campaign. But this is his ad in Soul Food Lifestyle Magazine. And he is a restaurant consultant, but he's a niche consultant because he specializes in finding ways to help you create wealth and build wealth as a restaurateur. Right? Not just kind of throwing stuff on the wall, seeing what sticks, showing up late, when you say you're open at 2 and you're open till 4 because, Costco was ready because that's why you buy your food. We're not going to talk about that tonight. I know a little tiny bit about the restaurant industry. So, but that's what he does. So tonight, one of the things we do for our advertisers is give them opportunities to shine outside of what their advertising might look like, right? And just continue to find ways to put them on platforms and put them in front of people that they can help in front of their ideal customers. So this is a niche tonight, right? We wanted people in the restaurant industry, food service, current restaurateurs, or people who are just entering, so that you can start off right, get that first baby nice and beautiful, and figure out a way to duplicate it so that you can build a wealthy enterprise as a restaurant owner. So I'm going to bring Jason Wallace up. Yeah, don't stand up.
Yeah,
you guys should just please come, keep it calm.
Security.
Yeah. Yeah, they're over there. So yeah, we got it. So this is Jason Wallace, who is, like I said, one of our advertisers, but has become a fast friend. And he's here. He's going to dump a lot of knowledge on you guys for about 40, 45 minutes. And then we'll have a question and answer session. And then I do have gifts as well for you guys to answer the questions. So you're going to kill him tonight, right?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. All right.
We show up and we show out.
And he plays no game. So if you do end up, just going to tell y'all, I'll say win. Because at some point, everybody should have him on retainer, especially if you're just getting started. If you get started with this man, it'll be very hard for you to fail.
Okay.
But he plays no game at all.
Yeah.
At all. So I'm going to pass it off to you, Jason.
Thank you, Michelle. Appreciate you.
Yeah, thank you very much.
No doubt. Yeah. So let me start by first thanking Mark Parham
and the Urban League of Greater Atlanta for having me and hosting me. Let me thank Michelle Taylor Willis, as well as, youth for coming. And I thank you all very much. As Michelle stated, if you look at page 24, you already see my contact information. My cell phone number is in there. My email address is in there, so you have that. Okay. So what I'm going to walk you through tonight is a snippet of what it's like to understand the entire restaurant and food service ecosystem. And more importantly, how we build wealth from it, right? So when she tells you I play no games, you definitely play no games. So let me start by saying, giving another plug, if you are not familiar with Eat Okra is an app that identifies Black restaurants across the country. Your business should be listed on Eat Okra. There's no cost. There's 16,000 restaurants on the app. And when you get engaged with Eat Okra, you will also get perks associated with claiming your business on Eat Okra. And then there's other things that come down the Eat Okra pipeline because I am a partner in Eat Okra. And we do have national partners, Pepsi and Uber Eats and those types of organizations that specifically want to spend dollars directly with Black-owned restaurant, food service operations, caterers, food trucks, brick and mortar restaurants. So again, if you've never heard of Eat Okra, make sure you download the app. You can do it right now. There's no cost. Claim your business, and then you'll get all the benefits associated with that as well. So, Eat Okra. Yep. EATOKRA. So, who is Jason Wallace? I like to start here because when someone stands in front of you and starts to speak about what their knowledge and power and expertise is, you should know a little bit about them. So I just want to start with that. I'm a United States Navy veteran. I left the United States Navy and I went to the Culinary Institute of America. I'm actually a chef by trade. This all started for my love of food, passion. I did an apprenticeship in La Rochelle, France. Line cook, sous chef, executive chef, studied wines in Bordeaux. Understand the soil content, understanding the different grape varietals that make up the wines that we love to pair with our foods. Also spent some time in Napa Valley studying wines as well. And what ended up happening is I was a line cook and a sous chef in New York City. And when the economy took a dip, I realized that there was a business side of culinary arts, right? Because we're also passionate about our menus, our soups, our sauces, our appetizers, entrees, desserts, but yet, regardless of how tasteful they may or may not be, if they're not profitable, right? We don't need you or your good soup, right? So, I realized there was a void. So I went back to school. I got an undergraduate in restaurant management. I have a master's degree in food business. So when I tell you that I'm dedicated, I have a lifelong dedication towards education, and more importantly, I'm dedicated with sharing and bringing the level of knowledge and expertise that I have to my community. There were times when I was working in some of the higher end 2- and 3-star French restaurants in Manhattan, and my mother and father would come to visit, and they felt uncomfortable, right? They didn't really understand the terminology, the language, the menu, the wines, the sequence of appetizers, cold food or hot food, all the way through to dessert and cheese courses. So it bothered me that here I am, this higher end culinary professional, but yet my community lacks these types of eating and drinking establishments. So it became part of my mission and my passion to bring quality eating and drinking establishments to our community. So my office, I set my roots in Harlem. I went to the Sylvia Woods, legendary Sylvia's restaurant, introduced myself to them and the family, and they became my first client. And then from there, it just kind of spiraled into, all right, how can I uplift these independent restaurateurs that need a certain level of outside expertise at the CEO level, at the COO level. So I began to not only just hone my skills, but also get the education to match it. So I started teaching at the New York Restaurant School, started teaching culinary arts, baking and pastries, and then I moved to the front of the house and I ran the Metropolitan Museum of Art, which was a $12 million account, and started also teaching kitchen design and layout, accounting, bookkeeping, human resources, and all the other front of house management curriculums. Then I saw a void and said, okay, well, I'm a teacher, right? That's my passion. So when you ask me, what is my why? I will clearly tell you that education and educating my clients is my ministry. Like literally, it feeds my soul. Because on the other side of that, it bothers my soul when I see other ethnic groups, right, opening up more and more restaurants. Even during the pandemic, you saw certain people, right, they kept opening more. They kept expanding. So it bothered me that there was no curriculum. So I started putting together my curriculum, which is when I decided to determine and classify with the United States Patent and Trademark Office the restaurant scientists, because science removes emotions, right? Science is based upon the ability to have a controlled environment, understand the components that go into that environment, and then just analyze the results, right? The ability to analyze, synthesize, and evaluate who we are. What does the menu consist of? Who is our customer? When are they coming? So that's really where you get the restaurant scientist component. Because when I come in and I evaluate your concept and your profit and loss statement and your balance sheet and all those things that give you valuations to get you to the next level where this ain't no hobby, right? We need to build wealth from this. And we can build wealth from this if you understand the scientific group. So that's my why. My philosophy is inspired again by the American dream and the fact that there's entrepreneurial opportunities to build wealth in the restaurant industry. How do I do it? I take a lean, data-driven approach. So big data has changed the entire food service industry. It's changed our lives. But how do we turn that data into dollars, right? Because raw data doesn't mean anything until I shape it into useful information that will allow me to make educated decisions as the CEO of my brand, as the COO of my brand, Chief Operating Officer, Chief Executive Officer. And then more importantly, how do I build repeatable strategies, right? Some of those operators that are successful quite often don't know how to do it again, right? You got one concept, right? You have a concept here in Atlanta. Can you take it to Vegas? Can you take it to Chicago? Can you take it to Charlotte? Can you take it somewhere else, right? What's the formula that allows all of this to come together? So I take a data-driven approach. I don't know if you're familiar with Six Sigma. It's an old process improvement type of philosophy that larger corporations have been using for years, and agile thinking is now part of it. So when we take that approach, we understand how to really build wealth is create multiple units in the restaurant game, right? So we're going to talk a little bit about that. So I want to always start with my why, so you understand what makes me tick and why I do what I do in my ministry, and the fact that, you know, who I am and why you should listen to anything that comes out of my mouth, right? Some credibility, right? Because you don't know me from a can of paint, which is why I'm here, which is why I'm advertising with Michelle's group, and we're trying to just work so that I can expand my brand beyond the New York City market, which dominated pretty much for the last 20 years. So challenge, right? So let me just stop right here. There's going to be a quiz.
I have kids.
There's going to be a quiz. So be ready. Questions, answers, all of that. So here's the challenge then, right? So it's almost like when you go for your doctoral program, right? There's a thesis, right? There's a dissertation, right? It's all built around a hypothesis, right? An educated guess of what is a problem and how can I solve that problem, right? So the problem is a fact that independent restaurateurs have a lower success rate in comparison to multi-unit operators, right? So forget about what your personal opinions are about Shake Shack or Panera Bread or Red Lobster or Burger King or McDonald's. We really want to grow up to be like them, trust me, right? Everything that I'm going to teach you is coming from what McDonald's and all those multi-unit chains have done, and they figured out and they understand there's only 100 pennies in that dollar. So we have to be conscious of where every penny goes. And then it's wash, rinse, and repeat. Right? So the challenge that I have for my community is not only that's independent restaurants. So you know that if independent restaurants have a lower success rate, you know Black independent restaurants is even worse, right? Mm-hmm. So now back to my why. This is why I've gathered all this, you need 30 years worth of experience and all these, graduate degrees, undergraduate degrees, and I come here and I spit and I drop knowledge. Like that's what warms my heart. Right? So the challenge that I have is hitting every community in America, Michelle's help, right? Taking my soapbox and shouting from the top of my lungs about how we can build wealth in the restaurant industry, because we know that the challenge statement is what it is. So then the mission becomes, now how do I begin to have you become the leader? So I'm going to challenge your leadership ability now, right? I'm going to challenge, right? So I'm going to ask you some hard questions. And it's not personal, it's just a little soul searching, right? So how do I now educate, inspire, empower, all these things to understand the scientific formula behind running a profitable restaurant? So let me match that vision to the target as well. Turning data into wealth building dollars, 10% EBITDA, right? Earnings before interest, taxes, depreciation, and amortization. 10% or greater. So then what does that mean? That if your EBITDA currently, you could be profitable. And your EBITDA could be 6%. And I'll be the first one to tell you, you're underperforming. And you'll be like, well, I'm profitable. Well, it ain't enough. Because when you want to go to investors to raise more capital, or you want to go to bank, there's only two ways of raising money legally in this country. That's debt or equity. My job is to get you valuation that allows you to use other people's money the next time around. And more importantly, they get a return on an investment. So I have to bring you up to the rest of the industry nationwide, right? Is north of 10%. Which is why we want to grow up to be like Panera Bread, because they keep 16, 17, 18%. Yeah, exactly. Right? Which is why we want to use their footprint and their blueprint and apply it to our operations, right? Anybody want to build a $4 million brand in here? That was a question, absolutely. But we're going to start with a $2 million brand, right? So if the goal is to understand how to build wealth, because this is not a hobby, you've invested your time, you've invested your money, you want to get a return on investment, right? So my question could be to you, one question could be, how long is it going to take you to get your money back? Right? So if you invested $200,000, $300,000, $50,000, care what it is, you should get your money back. That business should pay you back within 48 months or less. That's called an investment horizon. If you're not, and then your lease needs to be longer than that, because if your lease is too short, all you did is you got your money back. Yes, right? That's not the game. The game ain't to get my 200 grand back, my 300 grand back, my 50 grand back. The game is to get all my money back and then get a return on that north of 10%. Right? So that means that what? The vision and the target means that now I have to educate emotional intelligent restaurateurs. Emotional intelligence comes into play because you're emotionally charged to your concept. You're emotionally charged. Like, I'm passionate about the restaurant industry. Right? Slow down on that passion. Show me some numbers that make sense. Give me a little less passion. CEO, right? So it doesn't matter whether you're a startup or you're an existing operation. What I'm going to share with you tonight is golden nuggets of knowledge that we can apply immediately, like literally when you leave here tonight, you can go and apply this information to your business and get a return on investment. And I won't even cash out you an invoice tonight. But going forward, it will cost you.
Can you repeat the acronym again?
Earnings before interest, taxes, depreciation, and amortization. We're going to go over that again, for sure. Great question. Great. All right. So here's your quiz. How many people in here currently have a business? Up and running. All right. So there's 7 questions. You either know it or you don't. And if you don't, you see the last question? Why should I be led by you? You're the CEO of your brand. If you don't know these answers to these questions, you come to the right place. Good. But the end of the day is you're the CEO by default because you own the company. Right? When somebody hire you to be the CEO of their food service company, I told you I don't play no games, right? I'm asking you, why should I be led by you? Your employees have the right to ask you that. So, question number 1, what is your year-to-date EBITDA? January 1 through May 31st. Because we're in June right now. Question number 2, name your number 1 top priority for 2023. What is your goal? What is the goal for 2023? I'm going to give you the answers to these later. You should have 1 goal. And it's a hint. I already gave it to you on the previous slide. Number 3, which KPIs will you utilize to achieve your goal? KPIs is key performance indicators. What are you going to do? What are you going to implement? What are you going to measure? What are you going to analyze, synthesize, and evaluate to make educated CEO decisions, not these emotional decisions, that will determine your key performance indicators that will allow you to accomplish your number 1 goal? We have 1 goal. If you don't know what that is, I'm going to tell you what the goal is before we leave. Question number 4, what is the current week that we're in? So I want you to start using the language that we use. So if you go to a bank, you go to an investor, they speak a different language. It's my job to teach you what that language is, right? So there's no reason to be intimidated because I break it down. No reason. I'm not belittling anyone. It's just I just got to evaluate you where you are, and then now we got to get you together to the next step. So the current week is 52 weeks in a year.
We're at week 24.
We are on week 24, really 25. If your day starts on Monday. Absolutely. So, in most of the restaurant industry, because the weekends are so busy, right? Sunday is the last day of the week. So Monday's day 1, Sunday's day 7, and we're in the second day of week 25. She was absolutely right. Because there's only 52 weeks in a year. Congress is not going to pass a 53rd week. Trust me, they're not. So that means you only got 27 more weeks to make profit. And if you don't know question number 1, you don't even know when your break-even point is. You don't even know when you're going to reach. We don't even know what success is and what it looks like. I have no fear. The restaurant scientist is here. This is what we do. What is your prime cost? If you don't know what prime cost is, you will definitely know by the time we leave here tonight. What is your prime cost percentage, by the way, sorry. And what is your growth strategy? Right? Because if you're not growing, you're dying. And then really the second part of that question is, what's your exit strategy? Because you got to have an exit strategy. What do we do? We're going to build it. We're going to sell it. We're going to build it. We're going to keep building it. Like, there's a strategy to growing from a $1 million business to a $2 million business to a $3 million business. That's what this is all about. This is not a hobby. This is not a game. This is about building wealth. From this industry that we see people building really, really good lifestyles from. And it's doable. And it's repeatable. And we can engineer these profits. And then the last question is, Why should your team be led by you? Why? Because I started the company. It's my company. I'm the CEO. Like, really? Right with me? So these are the questions. We got some prizes we're going to give later on. Any questions, comments, or concerns so far? Good stuff?
How you guys feeling? Good, right?
Good, good. All right. So here's where we're going to start. CEOs, Chief Executive Officers, CFO, Chief Financial Officer. That's where I got to get your mind to think like, right? So there are three major financial statements that impact your business. One is called the balance sheet. The other is called its income statement, which you're very familiar with, also known as the profit and loss statement or the P&L statement. That's what you deal with on a regular basis. And the last one is the statement of cash flow. Right? Let's walk through each one. Bookkeeping versus accounting. Most of you, this is too much text for you to read. Don't worry about it. I'm going to explain to you what each one of these is. Where you underestimate in your operations is the importance of bookkeeping. Bookkeeping is the clerical collection of information that maintains financial function and structure, which indicates the healthiness of your industry, of your business. Right? So just like you go to the doctor and take your blood pressure, right? Or check your heart rate, to do all these things, check you for pre-diabetes, all this stuff, and determine how healthy you are. You might have a cold, you might have cancer, right? Two different things. Your business is the same way, but it's your job as a CEO, the CFO, is to understand how healthy my business is. And we know that there's 52 weeks, so everything that I'm talking about is independent, but it's interrelated. So this is the entire ecosystem. So what we don't do over here, the decisions we don't make in the beginning will impact us negatively somewhere else down the line. So we can lie to ourselves all we want. Oh, we don't need $200,000 to open up this restaurant. We can do it for 100. Okay. Go ahead. Take that journey. See what happens. Right? So bookkeeping is extremely important because it systematically tracks everything that happens in your business every day. Invoice comes in, that invoice needs to be paid. Maybe you use a credit card, maybe 7-day, 14-day, 30-day terms. That's got to be documented, right? Because technically, once we start talking about the balance sheet a little more, I'm going to explain to you how we do what we do and how we really make money, right? So don't underestimate the importance of a bookkeeper and bookkeeping, because a lot of restaurateurs that I talk to, so my accountant handles that. If I hear that one more time, your accountant doesn't run your business. Trust me, your accountant can't run your business. Your accountant, all your accountant does is take information that already happened and put it into a spreadsheet for you and gives it to you. That's it. And they give it to you late. They give it to you 60 days after it happened. I need to know what happened in week 24 to determine what my expectations are in week 25. Your accountant can't give you that information. The bookkeeper can. And as a CEO, you should know that. And that's because that's what you're setting the budget based upon. Right? So this is not a knock on accountants. You can't do without your accountant. But your accountant doesn't run your restaurant. You call up your accountant and says, oh, how much money did I make in June? We're in June. No, May, right? May's over, May 31st. I guarantee you most of you who are running your business haven't seen a profit and loss statement from May yet. And it's June 20th. When you going to get it? In July? Right? You're going to get it. And now I learned some stuff in June that my food cost was out of whack, my labor cost was out of whack, my beer, wines, and spirit cost was out of whack, my non-alcoholic beverages was out of whack. Like, when you going to find that out? In July that I had a problem in June? Really? That's how you run it, CEO? That's how you rock it? Follow what I'm saying? So I have to start with understanding and changing your mental about what it is to be a leader. Most of these operations are overmanaged and underled. Does that apply to you? That's not a quiz question, right? Are you just a manager? Are you a highly paid manager? Are you an underpaid manager? Or are you really a leader? Are you really a CEO of your company? Right? Because I asked you, what are your strategies? What's your internal growth? What's your external expansion plan? And then more importantly, what's the exit stage? What's the strategy? Exit stage left, right? Because your lease is going to expire at some point in time. So I'm either going to renew that lease or I'm going to cash out. But did I get my money back and did I get a return on my investment? Questions, comments, concerns, more terminology and definition. EBITDA. Same thing we talked about that. Earnings before interest, taxes, depreciation, and amortization. That's what we're going after. And then net income is a little different. It just subtracts out EBITDA. So I just want to get you acclimated and used to hearing these terms that we use in the industry. There's formulas for them. I can't give you all the formulas tonight, but I just want to introduce you to the terminology definition. So as a CEO of your brand, you can begin to do your own research. Questions, comments, concerns? All right, here we go. I'm just warming up. So now, how we make money in this game? The balance sheet and the income statement. The balance sheet equation is real simple. Assets equals liabilities plus owner's equity. That's your basic algebraic equation that we learned probably 8th, 9th, 10th grade. Right? Meaning that assets, when you see that asset, there's no symbol in front, but we know when there's no symbol, there's a positive, right? Right? You see the liabilities, you see there's no symbol in front, but it's a positive. And then you see the positive OE, right? No symbol, all these things are positive. But we know in algebra, we say, well, we want to get one thing on one side, right? We want to move these liabilities to the other side. Now this goes from a positive to a negative symbol. So assets minus liabilities equals owner's equity. Owner's equity is all you, that's it. That's all you own. That's it. It's your assets minus any liabilities you owe, right? Your equipment, trucks, all that stuff. These are all examples of assets. Cash, marketable securities, prepaid inventory, furniture, fixtures, land, building. All that stuff we do, we take asset cash and you do what? You sign a lease. Landlord says, give me 3 months deposit. Fine. If there's equipment in there, it's a second generation restaurant, you may have to pay some key money for the equipment that's already in there. Then you do an assessment and say, all right, this equipment is applicable to me or it's not. I get rid of it, I buy more equipment. But what do? You take asset cash and then you buy asset furniture, fixtures, and equipment, FF&E. Right? We play with assets. My job to teach you how to financially understand what you're doing. Right? Then you take asset cash and then you hire people. Right? What's not on your balance sheet, the most valuable asset you have is your human resources, is your people. Because the restaurant industry is the ultimate team industry. And I grew up as an athlete, which is why I kind of gravitate toward it. Baseball, basketball, football. Right? You can't do this by yourself. That's why you have to become a leader and a teacher. Because otherwise you become a manager and you're not cultivating talent from within your organization and people don't feel like there's no growth, there's no opportunity. So there's other things, other intangibles that come with a business and and a job more so than the hourly pay. Right? So now we're taking asset, we buy inventory, which is food, right? Chicken, beef, veal, seafood, produce. We're still in the asset categories. Right with me? So we're taking we're using the assets that we have, we're buying inventory, we're hiring staff, we're buying equipment. Catering equipment, trucks, vans, whatever. Sternals, chafing dishes, all that stuff. And then ultimately, what do? We sell it to generate revenue and income. So technically, the food service, the distributor is fronting you the food for the most part. You put on a credit card's due in 30 days, right? Or if they deliver it to you, they say, all right, pay me in 14 days. So you're going to buy $5,000 worth of food. You're going to manufacture, because that's what we are, we're manufacturing plants. We buy raw materials, we produce them into an end product, we simultaneously market it to the end consumer, right? That's why these leases going through, that's another conversation. These retail leases are not applicable to restaurant operations, which is why I have a real estate license and I can help negotiate leases because the landlords don't understand what we do. Our margins are different. We're not Dwayne Reed or Macy's or any department store that only buys. We manufacture. We're a manufacturing plant. So now I took asset cash. I bought fruits, vegetables, starches, proteins. I hired some staff. I bought china glass silverware, right? Did all advertise. I paid Michelle for advertising, right? I did all of that as an investment, and now I'm going to sell it, and it's going to generate expenses. And it's going to generate revenue. And the difference between that is the science and the nuggets that I'm giving you. I need to know what those differences are. I need to know what contribution is. I need to know what my food cost margin is, my beverage cost margin, all of those things. Gas bill, light bill, water bill, pest control, garbage removal, all those operational issues. Right? Liability is anything that's owner's equity is the rights, because ultimately you either got to get all your money out and then you sell it for something modest, or you build it to where the valuation is good and someone will pay you. But it depends on what the exit strategy is. Sign a 10-year lease. I get my money back in 48 months. That's 4 years, right? That means I got 6 more years to grind and make a profit. So sometimes people sign leases that are too short, in my opinion. But this is the balance sheet. Now, these are all what they call permanent accounts, assets, liabilities, and owner's equity, which means that I told you there was 52 weeks in a year. Come December 31st, the year is over. January 1, 2024, all your assets, all your liabilities, all your owner's equity will carry over, and you still owe those people on January 1st. You still have all those assets on January 1st, December 31st. Right? But your revenues go back to zero because that's how we make money, right? You only got 52 weeks, which is why it's important for you to understand what week you're in, and more importantly, how much money did I make last week or lose last week? Because if there's a deficit, because there are times when there's negative cash flow, but when there's months that are positive cash flow, that's when the cash flow statement comes in and shows what type of operator you are, because now I can manage and see my investment activities, my financing activities, and my debt activities on the statement of cash flow. We don't really deal too much with statement of cash flow in the restaurant industry, so don't get all bent out of shape on that. But more importantly, you got to know what this balance sheet, this revenue statement, profit and loss statement is, which you already do. Right? So that's why they're called temporary accounts, because December 31st, January 1, you got 0 sales, 0 expenses for that period of time. So now, how soon do we break even? It's the 25th week. Now, 27 more weeks in a year. Did you hit your break-even point yet? Good question.
What is the ideal week?
What is the ideal week is the question. It depends on how much your revenues are. So let's just use $1 million business, right? Let's just start there. If my number one goal is what? EBITDA 10% or north of 10%. That's the goal. Don't tell me nothing else. I was about to curse again. Sorry. Don't tell me you got goals to expand. No. Your goal, number one goal, is EBITDA at 10% or greater. That's the goal. Excuse me? Okay. So then the objective is, out of every week, what am I going to put in place to monitor those key performance indicators? So let's use $1 million business. $1 million business, $20,000 a week in sales. Right? Right with me there?
Yeah.
So if you're not doing $1 million, then you need to do 15 a week, right? If you're doing less than $10,000 a week, I got to ask you why. Like, why you do it? Right? I mean, Because if you're $1 million business and I keep 10%, that's $100,000. Now you're also paying yourself a modest salary in that business, should be, right? And then now at the end of the year, if you keep 10%, that's another $100,000 coming your way. Now don't forget, you invested $100,000 or $50,000 or whatever more. So that $100,000 is really just paying you back from your initial investment. That's why we shoot that horizon, right? 48 months or less. If I get my money back in 36 months, then boom. Now I'm starting to generate a return on my initial investment. Otherwise, you just got your damn money back. That is not the goal. You just got yourself a job. That could be a goal. Right? Because now you pay yourself 40, 50, 60 grand, you ain't working at Foot Locker. Cool. Right? Everybody understand like the importance of these documents. This is what we do. Like this is how the bankers are going to look at you. This is how the investors are going to look at you. This is how the urban leagues are going to look at you when they start to give money away. They want to see these. They want to see how well put together you are. You don't even have to be buttoned up. You just got to show some resemblance of you really know that you're a CEO of a brand. So we're talking about the balance sheet right now. Questions, comments? Yes.
There's one question I got.
Yes.
My wife owns a restaurant, but I listen, and of course I've been in Atlanta for a minute. How do they restaurateurs keep consistency? You know, of course, I've been here 33 years. I've seen restaurants come and go.
Yep.
Then some restaurants have steadied the whole way through.
Yep.
I mean, from the Houstons to the different brands out here. And like, what is different? Because those restaurants are not in their region. They're not in all across the country and stuff like a McDonald's is or whatever.
Yep.
How do you suggest that they be consistent when you talk about the profit and loss and stuff, and you get that million or even increase?
Yep.
Not even just be consistent, just be increase, but while you're going.
Absolutely. And remember, I told you it's the ecosystem that right? The internal control component is to direct, regulate, and restrain the actions of people. Right? That's why we have systems, right? But that's why we have to standardize it. So standardization is the key to that, right? So there's a recipe. There's a 12-ounce filet. There's an 8-ounce burger, right? There's eight ounces of protein. Like some of these soul food places I got, some of the rest of my clients, they're giving away 2 pounds of food. They literally like collard greens, 8 ounces, 10 ounces. Yams, 8 to 10 ounces. That's 20 ounces, right? Right? We buy food by the pound, but you don't price it accordingly because the customer's not expected to pay that kind of money, right? Right. How much can you charge for chicken, right? So now, because there's no consistency in the recipe, sometimes you put more brown sugar, sometimes you put less. Sometimes you put more butter, sometimes you put less. The prices go up and down. Right? So not only am I not being consistent with my recipe and my flavor profile, I'm not even being consistent with the cost because every time somebody makes the mac and cheese, they make it differently, and it's cost. Sometimes it costs me less, sometimes it costs me more. Depends on who's making it. So now there's no standardization. I can't even get to this slide until I know that my food has been standardized, my drinks have been standardized, right? All that. So that's the answer to consistency. Standardized. Everything has to be standardized. Everything. Right? Some people, I had a cousin, she had these deep dish cobbers. She didn't want nobody else to know the recipe. Because if you watch it, I'm on YouTube. You know I love you, right? She's like 67 years old. She running around the kitchen making deep dish cobbers because she don't want nobody else to know. Really?
I get it.
That's what we're up against. Like those types of things and understanding the importance of a standardized recipe. Even a standardized purchase specification, meaning like, all right, if I develop this recipe in the R&D stage, research and development, this is the first stage, right? Everything on your menu has got to go through R&D. And I use Morton salt, or I use pink Himalayan salt. And then somebody comes and says, oh, I can buy you a cheaper salt, but that salt don't give me the same salt impact as this salt. So if something is changing the salt standard will impact the flavor profile. So you're really not saving me because the recipe calls for 2 ounces of Himalayan salt, But if I don't use Himalayan salt, I use Morton salt, I got to put 5 ounces of salt in it. So you really save it. Yes, sir.
What is the rationale for not wanting to give up their recipe?
Secret, trade secret. It's her grandmama's recipe, and she don't want nobody else to sell it. I mean, to steal it and then go open up their own
But when
deep dish cobbler recipe, right? I mean, you could do NDAs, you can do all kind of, like, you could change, you could standardize the mix, like they don't know, like, right? So you can say, all right, there's cinnamon, there's nutmeg, there's brown sugar, and we can make that in batches, and then you say, all right, put 7 ounces of this mix in. But they don't know the ratio of each individual ingredient in that batch.
So what's ways of
Yeah, so there's ways to make sure that you protect your proprietary. But, you know, I watch Michael Jordan a lot. I could never play basketball like Michael Jordan. Right? So it's like the same thing with, you know, you know, so. I mean, you can give me a recipe, but it doesn't necessarily mean that.
and most people right now is different carry out. Right. Business. Right. The way that you make it carry out your business.
So standardization of just even what I purchase. Right? Because again, people say, oh, I go to Restaurant Depot and I get it cheaper, but did you do your recipe with the Restaurant Depot salt, flour, and sugar? Because if you didn't, that other brand, that powder, it might be more powdery, right? There's different grains of that. This is the science, right? I'm a chef by trade. Proteins coagulate, starches gelatinize, sugar caramelize, and water evaporates. I don't give a damn what I'm looking at, bro. Show me what you're talking about. And I'll show you how to put it. If we saute it, it's 2 ounces of fat. If we pan fry it, it's 3 to 4 ounces of fat. If we deep fry it, it's totally submerged in fat. Give me a product. I'll break it down to you scientifically. I'll show you how the difference is going to come out, and then we can taste it. And that's the recipe. That's the step. No, we don't do the flour before we do it this way, this sequence. Right? Everything in your operation has to be that. That's why I say we're too emotional. Right? That's the emotional intelligence comes in. It's like we got to standardize everything. Now, if we're going to change salt, that's fine. There's a process to do that. Right? We're going to change flour. There's a process to do. There's a process to changing a recipe, but it ain't up to the cook. It ain't up to the chef who you hire this week and might be gone 2 months from now to determine, oh, I bought a cheaper salt. I mean, I'm just using salt as an example. That's a small one, but it don't matter. All curry ain't. I got my man's doing he's doing he asked me about some jerk. Like, bro, you gotta get them Scotch bonnet peppers. You gotta marinate that shit overnight. You know what I mean? Like, you want some curry, you gotta get some of that smoked Indian curry. Like, find you an Indian market and get that curry. Don't get that other curry that Cisco and and those companies have, because it's not the same. It's not. So let me get the quality standard and then systemize everything else based upon quality. Now we're talking. Great questions. All right. So now we talked about the balance sheet. We talked about the income statement, right? Any questions on that? The income statement, we have revenue come in and then all the expenses go up. We good? All right. How am I doing on time? 15 more minutes. I'm gonna wind down and we can just go.
I don't think that's possible.
We're almost there. So this is it. This is how we make money in the restaurant industry. We only make money off of fixed cost, because variable costs never go away. Because in order to sell more chicken, you gotta buy more chicken. Right? In order to sell more shrimp, you gotta buy more shrimp. So your variable costs never go away. Otherwise, you're 86. I come to your restaurant, you say, oh, we out of that. Okay, and maybe for the day or forever, right? So just let that marinate for a minute. Variable costs never go away. The only thing that goes away is fixed costs. Fixed costs are your salaries, your gas bill, your light bill, your water bill, your insurance. Right? The insurance company don't call you up and say, hey, bro, I was just doing well over there. We're going to charge you a little bit more on insurance. No, that don't work like that. That's a fixed cost. So once I understand and identify all my fixed costs, I got to put them in a category and I have to add them up. And it's going to tell me a dollar amount, 300,000, 400,000, whatever it is, right? So if you got 2 managers, you pay each manager 60 grand, that's 120 grand. You pay yourself 60 grand, that's another 60 grand, right? Whatever it is, those salaries do not have a direct relationship with sales. Sales volume goes up and down, fixed costs remain the same. There's no direct correlation between that. Variable costs, on the other hand, will go up and down, and 30% of a $1 million business is 300, right? 30% of 2 million is 600. The absolute dollar value is 3 and 6, but the relative percentage value is still 30%. Everybody with me? This is how we make money. These are the formulas. Variable cost over sales will give me a variable rate. 1 minus the variable rate will give me a contribution rate. Contribution rate is the difference between what you sell something for and what it costs you. Food costs is something else that we look at as well. But we don't always chase food costs. We have to know contribution margin too. So for example, if you make a real good crab cake and you're using lump crab meat at $18 a pound, you might turn around and sell that pound of crab meat cake for $36, right? And for those that are connoisseurs of that, I don't have a problem with that. I pay $130 for a steak with some frog raw on it and crab. But that cost is 50%. But every time you sell one, you put $18 in the bank versus trying to sell a bowl of pasta for $18. And even though the cost might only be 15 or 20%, you're only putting $10 in the bank from the pasta. You follow me? That's what contribution margin is. That's how that works. We need them both. Right? You got that big ticketed item, that ribeye steak, lobster, crab meat, lamb chops. Those things you can run 40%, 45, 50% cost because that's not what you put in the bank. You put that difference. You put that contribution margin. This is what's going in the bank. Right?
So you're looking at how many you have in a case, like say you got steaks, and you got 20 in a case, or whatever.
Ideally, yes. I love counts, right? So when it comes to quantifying my inventory, I like, right, 24 bottles of Heineken in a case. Show him my Heineken and show him my money, right? You sell each one for 10, I'm just making them a number, even though $10. So I know that I should get 20 times 10, right? 24 times 10, $240 off of a $33 case of Heineken. Right? But when you come to your recipe and development, like I literally weigh shrimp. Right? You get shrimp 16, 20 per pound, chefs, right? You familiar with that? Mm-hmm. That means there's 16 to 20 shrimp per pound. Now, weigh 1 shrimp, and you'll find out it is an ounce and a half. Now, take that divided by how much you pay, $10 a pound for that. Now you understand what it costs you per ounce for everything on your menu. So now I can go up and say, I used to get 6 shrimp. Cost went up. I either got to go up on price or I got to go down on cost. That's it. Right? So those are your options. Then the question is, will the customers give you a lot of pushback? If not, we're going to go down to 5 shrimp. Right? That's the game that's how we and it's not emotional. It's not emotional. Yes, ma'am.
So, but Jason, isn't it better? It's better if you start here because then you don't have to adjust as much, right? What happens is these restaurants get 3, 4, 5 years in the game, and then now they got to backtrack, and they can't sustain the backtrack, and they end up closing. So if you start with this information, then you should be able
to. Yep. Because you realize you got to weigh everything. Weigh how much. You realize sometimes my clients, they're baffled. I'm like, you give away 2 pounds worth of food. Between the 2 to 3 pieces of chicken, right? Leg and a thigh, 8 to 10 ounces of yams, 8 to 10 ounces of mac and cheese. That's 30 ounces. There's 32 ounces in 2 gallons, right? 16 ounces in a pound. Right? You're giving away 2 pounds of food, but then you cost out them sweet potatoes that cost you, the sweet potatoes only $20 a case for 40 pounds. Yeah, bro, but when you peel them, you only got it for 30 pounds. Did you factor in that 10 pounds of waste? No, you did not. Did you factor in the labor, the gas bill? So when I worked with Ken today, and so he's trying to figure out how much to charge for them foods. I'm like, all right, I mean, what you pay these guys? $16 an hour. Okay, how long does it take them? They work 8 hours. Okay, how many poutine? Where's poutine, right? They make
Yeah, some potatoes.
But yeah, he said, so it's like, all right, they can make 150. So I broke it down. It was like 150, $10 an hour, 6 hours, $60. You got to add that to your food costs, right? Then I asked him, all right, what was your water bill last month? We don't pay water. Okay, good. What was your gas bill? Divided by how many days you open. All right, it cost you $7 a day for gas, right? What was your electric bill? $1,200. All right, how many days you open? 20 days. It costs you X per day in electric. You're like, there's only 100 pennies. So let me just tell you the correlation here. 1, 0.6, 0.4, I mean 0.6 and 0.4 adds up to 1, right? $1. So you see all those numbers add up to $1. Why? Or 100, because there's only 100 pennies in every dollar. And we said early that we want to keep 10 pennies of every dollar that we make. So if I take that off the table, that only leaves me with 90 cents left. My prime cost, anybody want to know what prime cost is? That's food, beverage, and labor. So when you hear somebody say, what's your prime cost? That means your total food, your total beverage, and your total labor, including payroll-related taxes, bonuses, all of that. If that equals 70 cents on every dollar, and you want to keep 10, there's no way in hell you can make money. It's impossible. And I can tell you, I can show you better than I can tell you. It's impossible to make money because there's only, so if this is your ratio, 40-60, 45-50, and then where that goes to fixed costs. Because the fixed cost is the only thing that goes away. If you could pay your rent for a whole year, write a check, boom, that's gone. You can pay some salaries so how soon, out of 52 weeks, can we get to a point where all my fixed costs are taken care of now? And then that profit starts to come to me. That's what we want to get to. Yes.
I have a question.
Drop the mic. You shouldn't be holding.
How can you, it's almost, looking at this, it's almost impossible to recover.
No, it's not.
It's not, does it feel like it, like something you're like, I need to close down?
No.
Like she says,
I need to shut down now.
So she got 3 different restaurants, so that's pretty much it.
Yeah, no, we just got to go back and start.
God.
You got to start from step 1.
And I really, when she said it, when she stood from the beginning, I wish I would have.
Yeah.
And I'm like deep in now with 3, it's like,
No, that's all right. We got you.
Okay.
Yeah, we got
no close down tomorrow.
you. No. I can come see you in the
No,
morning.
who's coming to lunch tomorrow?
The mac and, you said the mac and cheese, I just wanted to just jump out the window.
Yeah, we got to standardize.
Okay.
And we can talk about it. Don't worry. And we, go ahead.
What you're referring to as fixed costs, is that the same as what we call overhead?
No. So we got to be very sniper-like with it. We got to define what that means. So fixed costs would be like, even to a certain degree, like your marketing, right? Your DJs, your live entertainment, like you got to get to a point where you know that I spend $500 a month in marketing, right? Because now I can quantify that because that $500 you spend will be coming back greater than the $500. So all you really should be doing is put that money back out there again. So people have a tendency of cutting their marketing budget, which doesn't make sense, right? So spend the money to advertise, quantify the return on that, and then put that money back out there again, right? So that could become, because it doesn't go up as your sales goes up, right? You turn your lights on in your dining room. The dining room don't know, the lights don't know if your dining room was full or empty. That's why light bill, gas bill, water bill to me is a fixed cost because it doesn't increase if there's a customer in my dining room and it doesn't decrease if there's no customers in my dining room. The lights is on, the AC is on, the heat is on in the wintertime, right? So that's what we mean by fixed costs. So you got to go through each one of your line items and really just justify it. Is this a legitimate thing? Can we reduce it? Do we need it? And then you got to figure out how to get your sales up too.
It doesn't necessarily mean the amount doesn't change, it just means there's no direct correlation between whether you're selling or not.
Right, sales volume, yep, exactly. No direct correlation.
That sounds like overhead to me. It doesn't change.
Say it again, it sounds like what?
Overhead, like my kitchen cost is pretty much consistent, the same each month.
Well, general and admin costs are in a different category because what ends up happening is we want to see where all these pennies on every dollar is going, right? So your rent, for example, your rent should not be greater than 9% of sales, right? So, but what does that mean? That means if sales goes up, it will be a lower number because the gap between those two. But it's got to be at the lowest point. So you got to, like, even when you cost out your menus, you got to cost out your menus for the most expensive price, not for the cheapest price. People make that mistake, right? Chicken wings is most expensive, Super Bowl, and then what, 4th of July. So that's the price you want to use when you set your benchmark for your chicken wing cost, right? You want all your costs to be the highest price you pay at any one point of the year. That way you know you're good. And we still revisit that every quarter. But now once I break them recipes down into ounces, now it's easy for me to just go in that spreadsheet and say, I got to cut back on my portion size, or I got to go up on my price, or I got to redo the recipe and get a lesser costing ingredient, right? So now I got to find, I call it purveyor up, and that's why sometimes dealing with the broadliners are beneficial, because you can go back to them and say, listen, I bought, I go through 12,000 pounds of catfish in a year. You gotta give me some better pricing, right? Milk, egg, like those things that we burn through, you gotta one, keep count. That's why the Restaurant Depot is really not that good for us, because they won't give us sometimes those rebates that the companies and the manufacturers will give. Yes.
So Restaurant Depot is not good, but what is like?
So it depends, I don't know, down here there's Gordon Foods, and there's Cisco's everywhere,
right,
AFI or US Food Service.
Okay.
But you gotta, when you aggregate, and that's one of the things even with Eat Over is, so we got a buying group on the Eat Over platform that, especially for things like flour, sugar, like those staples that I know everybody uses. I go to Cisco and be like, I got 7 restaurants, and each one of them buys 100 pounds of flour a week, times 52 weeks. They're gonna give me better pricing. That's what Houston, and that's what these multi-unit operators, that's their competitive advantage, is their buying power. Like, we haven't even gotten to that discussion yet.
Yeah.
Right? The buying power is where you start to really increase your margins. That's a different, but we all out here trying to just do our own stuff. Right? We ain't trying to come together like no black restaurant food or none of that.
But you know what? I think that, because like I said, I've been here. I've gone to all restaurants. It don't matter the high end as well as the hole in the walls.
Yes.
And sometimes food is just as good as the hole in the wall as it is at the Houston's, that it's J. Alexander, or anyone you want to call the expensive restaurants. Their prices are just more.
Yep.
The food quality is not as good as going to Pascal's or Bisbee or somebody like that. It's just that they price like that, and everybody thinks Houston's is the best.
Yep.
Everybody thinks J. Alexander is the best, and I don't think that.
I agree. I totally agree.
And is that partly talking about eating the food? What about the experience?
But that's true too. That's true. But the experience can be the same at the James Room or a black restaurant as well and stuff. I just think that everybody thinks that you go to Houston's, that food is the best, in Atlanta, or one of the best restaurants in Atlanta and stuff. Yeah. And I don't agree with that.
Capital Grill, all those.
Yeah, exactly. Season 52.
Well, I'm with him. It's the experience for me.
Yeah.
Right.
Like,
I
got to sit down and the frog gonna be cracked.
But that's not part of how we approach what we're talking about here today, right? And beyond, that's another part of the ecosystem for sure. Yeah, your bathroom should be clean. Your lights should be fixed and all of that. That's a different conversation. But right now, we're talking about the core of how we make money and build wealth.
Yes.
And get to a point where now we have, $2 million, $2 million restaurants. Now we got a $6 million brand. Now I keep 10% of that. That's $600,000. That's a different game.
Yes.
Exactly.
Right?
So do these bigger restaurants start as a hole in the wall and kind of grow into that 2 million?
Yeah, now I don't know that they started as a hole in the wall, but most of them started with one location. They absolutely, everybody starts with one. Chipotle, I went to school with Chief Steve Ellis. We left culinary school. He went back to Denver. We all wanted to open up these higher end bistro kind of restaurants. He started Chipotle with one restaurant as a way to raise money to open up his finer dining restaurant that he actually wanted. Wow. And now you see what it is today.
Wow.
Yep. Exactly. So that's why, we got to look at what they do. We got to understand how they maximize these things. We got to understand the buying power of all that. But first, we got to become CEOs. Right? We got to think. We got to think different. We really do. Just real quickly, so now this is just me telling you what my services are, right? Start up, scale up, anything that you need. Everybody in this room, I can help you some way, somehow. And then, these are the consulting services. I'm a licensed real estate agent, so I do negotiate a whole lot of leases. So I'm very familiar with building out raw spaces as well as taking over second generation restaurants and growing. And then this is that Lean Six Sigma stuff, process improvement, right? Scalable, agile framework, feasibility studies, concept development. These are all the things that I do. So you don't have to be nervous, right? You got me. We're good. So these are the things that, right? Supply chain management, defects and waste, it's a war on all of that. Training, you start talking about human resource component, the training, the human resource component, research and development, which is menu development, where we start really tasting, going through the flavor profile, making sure it's consistent, and then all those things. And this is just more of engineering profits. We can engineer, like literally. We can manufacture profits, and we can do it consistently. All right? Kitchen design element. These are some of the kitchens. I'm building a brewery now, a restaurant, 10,000 square feet in Newark, New Jersey. There's got to be a bakery as well. And then boom, look at this guy. So sometimes, I'll put the chef jacket on and get in there and, again, just even training your cooks on what it is to really be a cook. Like, you don't have a thermometer, but you want me to pay you $20 an hour. I'd be like, I'm serious, bro. You know what I mean? Like, do you understand serve, safe food handling, time and temperature abuse, cross-contamination, viruses, fungus, bacteria? Like, I start spitting things in their hand, like, but you want me to pay you $22 an hour, but you don't even understand basic knife skills. If I told you to give me a small dice, medium dice, large dice, deep fried, all those things. It's amazing, but nonetheless, we got to work with what we got to work with. We got to meet them where they are, but more importantly, we got to incorporate this into your brand. Thank you very much. You got a question, sir?
Is there a formula for square footage of how you figure out what space?
Yes, there is, and more importantly, there's a formula for calculating the amount of revenue that we generate per square foot. So Cheesecake Factory and some of my larger companies that I do work with, yeah, absolutely. There's a formula for understanding how much revenue we generate per square.
Something to stay away from, something to definitely take
I think we go too small personally. I see restaurateurs trying to build a restaurant at 2,500 square feet with no refrigerator, no walk-in refrigerators. Like, we end up, that's just my personal opinion, right? I think we need to think larger, but I think we think based upon what our budget, our money is, instead of let's look at what we really need and then put it out there in the universe and let the universe bring us to the capital. Yes, sir.
What would you say, like, the average marketing cost is, like, where the most restaurant marketing is going to be? Like, you say social media or, I don't know, newsletters like this or something?
Yeah, I believe in her.
That's not a newsletter.
I'm sorry.
What we not gonna do.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think it's all about quantifying the investment, because it's investment. We don't spend money. We invest money, and then we measure a way to get a return on that investment. And as long as that investment keeps coming back, we keep putting that money. That's it. Thank you.
I have a consumer product.
Okay.
I was on the call a few days
Yeah.
So the slide that you had with the 1 minus 0.40 equals 0.60. First of all, somebody showed me an easy way to do the calculation. I think it was like 1.6 times I have to revisit that. But, doing the subtraction just seemed more confusing. But anyway, I had asked the question about, what's a good margin if I'm approaching a restaurant to sell my product? And you were in the range of what I was taught or what I had learned previously. It should be between 40 and 50%. You had 40, 45, and 50. And then you said it depends. It depends on what? I have a,
It depends on the restaurateur and if they have the ability to produce that product themselves.
okay. I am
Right.
running into some of that but for me to.
What kind of, you got a sauce? What is it?
She brought us some today.
Yeah, I'll mix it up for you. It's an organic ginger simple syrup.
Mm-hmm.
I make plant-based non-alcoholic drinks,
I
but it can
remember.
be used in cocktails.
I remember, yeah.
But because it's ginger root and I do a full peel, I can do it more efficiently and save the restaurant time and money, and I can produce it consistently.
That's your selling point. When you tell me you can save me labor and it's 100% utilizable, there's no waste, I'm listening. Right? And we can talk, I can help you with that because that's your pitch to the restaurateur to say, yeah, you can make this yourself. However, the numbers that I just did, you pay somebody $18 an hour, it takes them so many hours. This is why you should just buy my product already.
Do you live there or not?
I do not, but I'm here twice a month.
Okay.
He's about to buy a house here. And you're gonna help him, no, I'm just joking.
We're gonna have him buy it. I am.
He's gonna help you standardize that macaroni and cheese.
Oh,
recipe.
I know.
It's so. We can pass that time if I can get started.
Well, I thank you all for coming. Thank you for having me.
So wait, don't go anywhere. So, well, I do have a few gifts, I'm not gonna tell you what they are. In these bags, there's a gift card in each of these bags, just put that out there. It's for $1,000. I'm just joking.
I want just a little burlap bag.
I know, and the burlap bags are enough, because they are definitely so cute. And for those of you who weren't here when I started, I'm Michelle, Daniel Media is my company, and he's one of our advertisers. One of the things we do when you advertise with us is we find platforms to get you more business. So, you know, he is investing and he will get a return.
Yes.
But the greater part of it is really making sure that we're educating and informing and empowering businesses to be better. And my whole thing is empowering people, empowering businesses, empowering women. You know this, right? That's what I do. So whether you're paying me to do it or not, I want to make sure that we are all building wealth and being able to leave real legacy. That's the thing. Okay, so I'm going to ask a few questions on what he just said, and so you have to be paying attention in order to win. So the first hand that goes up for each question. Can I do my own questions?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, I'll start with something easy. What's the goal? BC?
10% EBITDA.
Or
higher.
there you go. Okay. So you get to pick. Which one do you want?
That's our number one goal for the rest of this year.
Okay.
Please.
All right, the next question is, give me an example of how you might think like a CEO.
Great question.
That is a good question, isn't it? You know, I interview people for a living. So great questions are mine.
That's a great
Jalen?
I'll say taking in all the variables of the foods before you're making the price up. For example, when you said the yams, you got to take into account that there's skin on the yams before you're pricing the food, because that takes out the cows.
Absolutely, that's an awesome.
That's a great, I thought so too. Good job.
Because he used the word variable.
He
That's
did.
exactly what it is.
Which one would you like?
There's waste.
See what's in there. I don't know if you want that one.
For,
But I mean-
for every 4 cases of yams, you lose 1 case. Because it's 10 pounds. Literally, I made a guy peel the yams and save the scraps. And when you weigh it, it's 10 pounds. I know this for a fact. So for every 4 cases, you lose 1 case. Wow. And you're not even factoring that in, and you're making how many cases a week times how many weeks a year? Wow. Thousands of dollars.
I had to do the same thing with my ginger, not by the case, but if I peel 7 pounds, I end up with 6. Yep. Well, I end up with 5 for sure, and it's between 5 and 6.
Great answer, bro.
That's impressive. Okay, last question. What does EBITDA stand
Earning for interest, taxes,
for? What happens to a car?
depreciation, and what's the?
You pay it
Think about-
back.
Oh,
Amortization.
amortization.
Should we give it to him?
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
Okay, awesome. So again, thank you guys for coming out. I mean, this was a great group. It was a smaller group than what we anticipated, but very engaged, and we appreciate that. If you want to connect with Jason, he will get his cell phone numbers in his ad.
Yep.
Like when they put, I was like, you'll put your cell phone number in the ad. He's like,
Page 24.
absolutely. So his cell phone number is right there. He is here twice a week, but he'll be here more. If you're interested in advertising, these are the kinds of things we do when, you engage with us. We find ways to make sure that we make you more money. And real quick, just because we want everybody to spend money with everybody else, can you take 5 seconds and just go around the room and say your restaurant or whatever you sell so we can make sure we spend money with you?
I'm a husband, so I hear about it all the time. I'm always feel like I work at the organization. My name is David Buckner. I'm ex-military. Okay. I'm a grant writer for a nonprofit here in Atlanta. The next block over and stuff. Operation Coach. So that's all I do, and it's exactly I support my wife. I just make sure she's the millionaire, and I'm just the husband.
Right.
That's her.
You the
Have a baby by her, be millionaire.
You the Obama to the Michelle.
Right.
Well, my name's Tanisha Martin. I own 3 restaurants in Atlanta. I own 1 restaurant in Midtown, 2 in Douglasville.
What's their name?
The names,
sorry.
yeah.
Cheese Brunch Bar right off 8th and Peachtree, Grits Brunch Bar, and then Red Velvet Bistro.
I see, okay, I see you.
Y'all market a lot.
You don't market in my name.
So we
That's
go.
fine.
No,
I mean, it's fine.
I got the invoice. I got you. I got to do that type of stuff. That's the stuff I do. Make sure she get her visibility.
What you got, love?
Okay, so I'm Chef Jack. I'm a pastry chef, and I'm known for custom sweets, and I have what you were saying, an alcoholic dessert line.
Awesome.
Hi, I'm BC Iowa. I'm still in the idea phase of a dessert concept, but I'm a CPA by trade.
Okay, hi, I'm Jalen Henderson. I'm actually an intern for Michelle. I go to FAMU. I'm about to be a senior, but I make clothes. I don't have a restaurant. I have a clothing brand called Solid. Solid Clothing.
All right, my name is Diamond Brawlin. I do a lot of things. I work for the film industry. Right now, I'm at Tyler Perry Studios. I'm a marine grip engineer. Me and my mom are about to start the Urban Deli, East Atlanta Village.
You just signed your lease, right?
Yes, I have my clothing brand on me. It's just a little, it ain't nothing good. I do it on the day after work. And we also have a CBD store, right by Little Ozio's called the Saha CBD. And yeah, I'm taking this adventure. I don't want it to be a hobby, but
You're just opening.
And you're not alone.
And too bad you just signed that lease. He could have negotiated that lease.
I mean, we still
Not
can.
alone. Yeah.
It's, I read it. You got to be honest.
I'm Ebony. I'm the product creator of Sweet Ginger Brown Mixer Elixir. I have a prize for you if you could think of why I named it Sweet Ginger Brown. I don't have a prize for you.
Okay.
But she did bring us some of her elixir. She brought a whole thing saying that.
Or if anybody could guess, my product is Sweet Ginger Brown Mixer Elixir. Does the name ring any bells?
I know.
Michelle got it, like instantly.
Sweet Georgia Brown.
Yes, you got it, exactly. Yeah, I'm always excited when people know, because most people think I make brownies. I have an E on the end of brown, so people think I make brownies, and I'm like, well, no, it's just a play on words. Michelle got it instantly, though. You're as smart as Michelle.
What is your company? Your company,
Yeah, so we're an advertising company.
Okay.
So we advertise. So the magazine is mine, TV, radio, billboards. We do nationwide campaigns, statewide campaigns, or just local stuff. But yeah, we also do production. We produce commercials. In fact, we're recording this, we're gonna produce a, what did we say, 60-second video?
Plus, the whole workshop is on his YouTube channel. You can go. And
You on Instagram too?
He
Yes,
is.
restaurant scientist, Instagram.
Great.
But I think it is definitely needed, because there's a show that the white folk have for those restaurants that are failing, and the guy comes in and helps, and it's the same thing, same concept, you know, same exact concept. I don't think that we are, like, we just wanna jump into stuff without,
That's right.
you go to the 12-foot in, why don't you start, walk your way into it. But then when it fails, you get mad, and say, oh, we don't support. We can support you because you weren't organized.
That's right. That's right.
Get mad at yourself, don't get mad at us.
Isn't he dope?
Oh, yeah.
He's like dope.
Thank you.